Yeah, no worries. Right, yeah, Mitch, I'll start now. Hello everyone, name's Dave. Been developing for a little while. The less said about it, the better. So my talk is about .NET identity as bare bones as possible. You've probably got similar experience to me. You join a project, and if you're lucky, you get to start putting identity in, so you know how it kind of all goes together. If you're luckier, someone else has done it for you, and you just kind of just drop in, and you don't have to think about it because it just works. So the current project I'm on, we did have Azure AD B2C, which was overkill for what we needed, so we had to strip that out and put in as bare bones as possible. Has anyone had any experience with identity, .NET identity? Yeah. Okay. So you know what it's like if you try and use the template, sorry, the scaffolds and stuff. It's just very, very, it's demoware basically. It all works until you have to do something in the real world, and then it's not good enough. So this project, or this little demo, is about how you can implement it as close to the wire as possible, just to get all the functionality in there and to get it working with minimal reliance on any templates or anything like that. Now the way this demo is going to go is I'm going to show you some code, I'm going to go through it, I'm going to show you how it works, I'm going to try and get it to work, and if it breaks, it's probably the best time to get it to break because I'm in a room full of devs, so that's all good. So yeah, we'll get right into it. I'll just run it and show you what it looks like. Actually, I will expand that a bit. Let me know if that's too big or if that's okay for you guys. Oh, that's too small. Is that alright for everyone? Yeah. You can make it smaller or bigger if that's any good. But before we even look at the code, we should look at the project structure. And as you can see, it is literally two projects, an API project and a class library with models in. It could have been one project, but I thought, although this is a demo, just try and stick to some kind of best practices, if you like. And again, I will quickly just run it to show you what we're going to be doing. If you've got any questions at any point, just feel free to jump in. It's not going to be one of those where I stand here and talk to you guys. It's going to be more collaborative, hopefully. So yeah, as you can see, these are all the auth endpoints from the controller, and that is the out-the-box endpoint that you get. Let's see if I can expand that. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Cool. So if you've done any Blazor or MVC out-the-box template stuff, you always get the weather forecast, and when you try it out, you get this response back, which is pretty bog standard. So if we go to controllers, and I slap in a, how's it again, an authorized attribute just to protect it. Fired up this machine in a while, so it might have a hissy fit every once in a while. So keep that. So we go back to the weather forecast controller, try it out. We get a 401, which is what we would expect. So the rest of this demo is about how we don't get a 401. So let's get stuck into it. Let's get rid of that. So .NET identity really boils down to these namespaces that I'm about to show you. Four main ones are the, oh, so small, where there. Let's see if I can quickly blow this up. So tiny. Okay. That didn't work out very well.
You can zoom in on that one.
Oh, wait a second. Cool. So the four main ones are the first two, and miss one, and then the two after those. So that's .NET Core authentication JWT bearer. Pretty obvious. You need to be working with JavaScript web tokens, so that's why you have that namespace. And framework core, because we're using migrations to put in all the standard .NET Microsoft identity stuff. SQL Server, because that's where the persistence is, and framework core tools. I don't know why, but it just works with that one. You can look at each class and you can look at the namespaces that it requires, and you can kind of figure out what you need, where you need it. Although once you get these in, you kind of forget about them. You just go through the motions and get everything else in. So the best way to start is to get the namespaces, sort out your data context, and make sure that it can reproduce the database structure for all the tables and all the assets that you need. So if we go into data, the first thing you've got to do is make sure that you have the tables set up properly. The tables that you need for identity are the application user, which wow, it's just taking a while. There we go. So the application user is what you will end up using to store all your user data. It derives from identity user, which is the identity entity for storing users. You can extend it however you want. Can it run zero? Yes, you can. And it's really, really flexible. I mean, this is your bog standard class of properties. You can put anything you want in there, depending on whatever business logic that you need. I only got this because I wanted to demonstrate that you can extend it as well. You've got the user, you've got roles, and you've got user roles. Now the way that identity works with roles is, it would be nice if you had a user and it had a collection of roles like a one-to-many, but with identity, it's more of a many-to-many, so it uses a joining table in between, which is the application user role, which is here. And I'm not sure how many of you are used to .NET migrations, but you have to specify how the relationships are before you kind of get everything persisted to the database, or get the database actually created through migrations. So the first step is to get these sort of building blocks, if you like, set up. And then after that, you then go and set up your data context, which is here. Now, data context has to, again, inherit from identity DB context, which is the standard identity DB context. And you have to have all these amazing things, because this is the template for setting up identity for .NET identity. Again, you have to specify how your models relate to each other. As you can see, the application user role is a joining table between users and roles, and that's where you have to specify that. And then this is where you seed your database. Again, depending on your business logic, you can put whatever you want in there. I've only put the roles that I want to see the database with initially. And that is coming from seeded role data here, which is basically a couple of dictionaries with the user roles and keywords that I've assigned to them. You probably want to specify the actual keywords so they don't change with each migration, but this is just demo, so we're just going to bypass that and pretend we're not as naughty developers as we sometimes are. So yeah, so far we have got our, we have created the project, we've got an API, we've got the three tables really that we need to store most things, well, everything really. We've got the data context to say this is how it's going to all go into the database. The next thing we need to do is go into the program file and actually define how all these services are set up. So there's a lot of things in here, but the main ones really are how the data context will be talking to the database. I'll show you the connection string in a second. We also have to add this for identity to make sure that it's aware of the identity assets that it needs to, identity services, sorry, that it needs to set up for us. And we'll come on to this later on, but basically this is to specify the rules on passwords as well. But again, we'll come on to that later. Is there anything else that I've missed? I'll show you what the app settings file looks like. Pretty bare bones again. You've got your connection string. I've got some properties for web and some properties for the JWT token. I'll show you how we use that to create the tokens in a little while. So having done all that, I think it's now ready to create a database based on what we've specified so far. So I'll go into the package manager console. Do I have a migrations folder? Yeah, so I've already done some migrations. I'm going to delete these, create some new ones, just so we can see it working from scratch. Has anyone got any questions so far, by the way? Awesome. If you do have any, just throw them out. So first step is to actually add a migration. I can call it anything, so I'll call it what I always call it because I saw it in a tutorial once, and that's still. Cool. And all this does is it looks at the models for the data context and it creates a migration for it, and this is what the migration looks like. Just basically instructions to create this, to create these assets in the database, and that's all that is. After that, I can go into, I can just update the database, and it knows to apply these changes to the database, basically create this database if it doesn't already exist, and it's going to work. It's taking a little while. But yeah, this is .NET migrations. It looks at your schema, it looks at your database assets, and based on the data context, creates a script essentially for it, which is what you see here. And then based on your connection string, I've got an error. Connection timeout. Okay, so hopefully it'll work better this time. That's an old one. I will go with that. Okay. I'll cancel that one. It's not a real demo unless it breaks up halfway through. So. Yay, SQL Server isn't responding. So what we'll do is close the window. Always a good sign. I'm not sure actually. This is a gaming laptop that I had lying around. It should be a decent sized one, but cool. Okay. At least it's broken properly. Do the connection. Awesome. And at least that's filled. So then, make sure this is okay. Interesting. So while we're waiting for that to load up, yeah, basically what we'll be doing is looking at the database when it's first seeded with everything, and then we'll be running through the application, and we'll be running through getting a user registered, so we can see them in the ASP.NET users table. It uses all the standard tables that Identity normally does. If you've seen Identity before, out the box, it has all the ASP.NET prefix tables. This will create all of those. Although it's called ASP.NET user, it knows that it's going to be what we call it, which is application user. Yeah, this is broken. Just bear with me a second.
Is it local DB, the local server?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. If you,
It's the service running.
Yeah, check
when
the
you
server.
restart the SQL
Yeah,
service.
yeah. That. It was running before. Yeah. That one is not required.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
We should restart.
It's super annoying when you're working on a dev machine and everything works and it just keeps working forever, and then you knock up a project like this, and like I spent like an hour yesterday just trying to figure out why SQL Server wasn't running, even though everything was installed. Just forget about the pains of setting projects up for the first time. Okay, I'm just going to restart that as well. And let's go back here. Cancel that. Again, close that. Seeing as this is burning some time, I'll show you the database and then we'll go straight to the demo. Just to show you everything working, and then this code base will be available on GitHub for anyone who's interested as well, so you can pull it down and have a play with it yourself. Hopefully it won't break for you. Right, we'll go back to taking so long to close the service. Alright, fifth time lucky. Right, apologies for that. What I'll do instead, since this doesn't want to play ball, is we'll go through the code, and we'll see if we can get this running up again. And this will be available on GitHub for anyone who wants to have a look at it. But we'll go through the controllers, and I'll show you what everything is supposed to do. So, you'll notice a theme going through this as well. So for register user, you pass in the user object, which looks like that. It can literally be anything that you want it to be. The main things that you need are email, of course, and password. Everything else is superfluous to it. And these properties are ones that we've added ourselves. So we've extended the identity user object to have that. So once it comes in, you create the class that will be sent to the database, which is what identity knows, which is application user. And again, that inherits from identity user. So we just transfer the properties over, we validate the password, and this is a standard way of doing it, basically. Now, so you validate the password and then you create the user. Now, this is the user manager, and this is how you basically do most things identity in bare-bones identity. I'm just going to F12 into async, and these are all the methods that you have available to you. So you can see you can do pretty much anything. It's a very comprehensive list. So once you have access to the identity framework, you can do all of these things, and whatever you need to do is based on your own personal business flow. So you kind of just figure out that as a registered user, I need to make sure that email and password are there. You would probably use some kind of validation on the front end or whatever was coming in to make sure you did have those. I haven't bothered here because, one, stupidly I'm trusting whoever's bringing that in, and two, it's demo. So I trust that whoever's doing this in real world will put in the adequate, the required checks. But yeah, the user manager has all of these, so you can pretty much do anything. Confirm email async, which we use, set phone number async, lots of things. You can get lost in it, but only if you don't know what you're doing. If you do, then you have a pretty straightforward business flow that you're kind of trying to follow. So we'll just walk through this. So you validate your password. If everything's fine, you actually create the user, and very handily, there's actually a create async. It takes in the user object and the password as well. And with each step, there's a check to make sure it's succeeded. Otherwise, we kind of return an error. But going through it, you after you create the user, you get the created user, and then you add a role for the user. Again, very straightforward. The user manager adds a role. Now this is why I'm cheating a little bit, because I haven't implemented an email service. You can use SendGrid or MailKit. There's loads of them out there. It was outside the scope of this demo, but within the process of registering someone, once they get registered, you've got to confirm the email address. And the way that you normally do that is you send back a token. Sorry, yes, it is a token. For them to send it back, yeah. So like a 2FA, two-factor authentication code. Sorry, no, not two-factor authentication. It's a email confirmation token. Sorry, it's actually called that in the method. So it generates a specific token that you then send to the user. They come back to your site with that token, and you can confirm that the email address is in fact legit. So when someone registers, they don't just join your site. You have to send that back to them. And the way that you normally do this, I'll show you how I cheated. So I'm writing the information that I need to a text file instead of actually sending an email. But the main thing is the token, how we generate the token, which is here, generate email confirmation token. And again, it's part of the user manager. It does everything for you, pretty much. I felt a bit stupid when I started using this because everything is really straightforward. You just have to know what flow to go around, what flow to go down in terms of what the business logic is. So if you understand that as a user, it's almost like a UX journey, and the methods are pretty much called exactly what you need them to do, which makes it pretty easy. After all this, you then can confirm the email, and to confirm the email, you populate this class with whatever you need, this DTO with whatever you need in there, and this is what it looks like. It's literally an email address and a token. And when you come back in, you can find the user by the email, aptly named, and then you can then confirm the email as well with the token. And that's how straightforward it is. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And as you go down, your logic is determined by how things turn out. So if you confirm the email okay, then you say, cool, now you can log in, now that I know you're legit. Because what it does, it also, is this actually working yet? No. Try again. Just cancel that. It's a shame that's not working, because in the ASP.NET user table, there is a column that says email confirmed, and it's just a simple Boolean flag. And what happens is when you try to log in, if that is not set to 1, then it says that you need to confirm email before you log in. So there is some logic that it takes care of behind the scenes for you. It's awesome doing a demo without stuff working behind. And signing in is the next step. So after you have registered and confirmed your email, you can then sign in. But that's not necessarily the next step, the last step, based on your business requirements. It could be that once you do all that, once you register and you confirm your email, you can log in. Or it could be that once you register and confirm your email, you can log in, but you need a two-factor authentication code if that flag is set, which is also a flag on the user table. So if I was logging in, I would get the user by the name. In this case, it's the email address, because that's what we've set the username to. I could get it by the ID as well. And I would check the password, again from the user manager. I would check the email is confirmed. If not, send a public message. If so, carry on. If two-factor is enabled, then I would send another email. Well, I would generate a two-factor token async. And again, it kind of reads like it's writing itself. If you kind of follow the logic, it's very, very straightforward. It's only initially difficult if you haven't got your sort of business processes mapped initially. But once you do, and once you realize that all these steps are already taken care of for you, it's pretty straightforward. Now this is an interesting part. So once you have fully logged in, it then has to return a token so that whatever API or consuming body is working with this API can say, well, okay, this person is now logged in, we're going to pass this token back and forth so we can trust each other, basically. So then it generates a token. I'll show you what that looks like. And again, this is it. It's a token is basically a list of claims and other bits and bobs that happen to it. It's a shame that we haven't got a token here, because I'd be able to go to jwt.io and show you that the token can be split up into all its constituent parts, which would be what we're looking at now. So it would give you all the information you needed about that particular user. And also, if we did have that, we could go back to the Swagger interface and use that to actually log in. Because what happens when you log in with a token is when you come back to when you then call the API again, for the endpoints that are protected with an authorized attribute, if you log in with a token, you have access to the claims principal user, which is inherently a user that it expects the token to be. You then still have to verify that, but if you come in with a token, then it assumes that you are a logged in user. But then it's up to you as a developer to do your extra checks and due diligence to make sure that you are the right kind of user. So, for example, if I was fully logged in and I wanted to disable two-factor authentication, I would come into here. It would inherently have a user already. I would still do the check. Again, user manager provides a get user async that takes in claims principal user. So again, it's pretty straightforward, I don't want to say easy, because it wasn't the first time I had to figure all this out, but looking at it now, it's annoying how straightforward it is. So you would log in, do you check to make sure that you are indeed there, do what you need to do. I'll show you what this looks like. So the two-factor authentication, again, is a column on the user table. It basically says that if this is set, then after they log in, send a code, and when they send that code back, then you can log in properly. So that's all it is. So it's usually that number that you get to kind of, yeah. Does anyone not know what a two-factor authentication code is? Awesome. I'm happy to explain, but I'm glad I don't need to. Cool. And that is essentially it. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't get this to show you it all in its glory. I'm going to try one more time, see if I can connect this. I don't expect it to work. Oh, wait there. Try this other one. That's not the one I want, though.
Change your connection string to that one.
Yeah, I could. Yep, I'll do just that. What's the easiest way to do that? Okay. I would normally go to the database explorer, find the database, and then create a connection string from that. I've got
/MSSQL server 01 on the end of it.
Yeah.
After local host.
See if you can find it. What's that MSSQL server?
Is it backslash as well?
Yeah. 2 backslashes or just one?
Just, that's a forward slash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's JSON, you need double it over.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Moment of truth.
So you cross your fingers first.
It's already broken. Yeah.
There we go.
It's almost by design. Right, so now if you go here,
That's how you force developer interactive. It makes them brilliant.
yeah. So yeah, we have DB identity, and these are, drum roll. I need a new machine.
It's not gravy too.
Yeah, hopefully we're about to see, actually, I'm just going to do that and then do that again. Nope, sometimes that works. Do that.
You're so close.
Yeah, yeah,
I saw the output, like a
yeah. I know initially, well, I tell you what, no, because it's still going to break even if I run the, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. We tried. Wait a second, if it did something there. No, it didn't. Why? Hey, bloody hell. Right, how long have we got left? Right, okay, we'll give it another couple of minutes. But yeah, ASP.NET users, select those. So yeah, that's everything we talked about. I'll go into the net roles, select 100 rows, and you'll see the three. Why isn't that showing?
doesn't want to work today.
Yeah, so you'll see the three roles that we see there.
We know that.
Cool.
Sorry, we can use our imagination.
Yeah, trust
Yeah.
it. Trust it.
Sorry about that, guys. Has anyone got any questions?
Hey,
Yay!
there you go.
Jesus.
See?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, get big machines for demos. Note to self. Yeah, I'm happy to call it there. I guess I'm just doing my head in. But yeah, .NET Identity. This is really more like a part one because that's just the API. Part two would be how we actually consume this to show the interactivity between any client. I'd probably prefer Blazor because that's what I know. And then part three would be how we probably use hybrid Blazor, .NET MAUI-ish, because you can kind of use the same components between the two now. So you have an API, a web application, a mobile application, and shared components between the two that talk to this API. So then you can have one identity backend that can serve multiple applications. Because at the end of the day, this is just an API, anything can talk to it, as long as it's got a valid token, excuse me, it's kind of validated to do everything that you need it to do. Does that make sense? Cool. I'm going to call it before I throw this thing in the bin. Has anyone got any questions? Awesome. Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that Identity used to, when you create a new template, it would create all the Razor files
Yeah.
in the project, and now it comes in a NuGet package. Just wondering if you've had a chance to play with them.
Yes and no. I initially started playing with them, but it was the same problem where it's like, it does create all that for you. .NET 8 is actually different. I'll backtrack. So previously, if you were using just standard identity, if you were creating a project and said, yes, I want to use identity, it supplied all, it kind of gave you all the front end and and hid all the implementation. So then if you wanted to do anything, you either couldn't or you had to get the templates that showed you their implementation, and then you had to work within the confines of how they've written their code. .NET 8 actually gives you an API that you would make these calls through, but again, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and you probably have to make a couple of calls to do whatever business processes that you needed to just keep calling them back and forth. So again, it's demoware. Looks good, but not fit for purpose. Really, you want access to all the methods within the user manager that I showed you, because then you've got total freedom to do what you want to do and implement it the way you want to do it. If I was doing this in .NET 8, the only thing that would change would be the .NET version and the namespace. Really, the NuGet package versions. I would still have loads of endpoints that I would talk to make sure that it was doing exactly what I wanted it to do behind the scenes. So that it doesn't change really with .NET 8. I imagine that they would do things better behind the scenes, but it doesn't affect how I would implement it, if that makes any sense.
Do they give you anything in ASP.NET to kind of wire up and authorize and token endpoint so you can do auth? Or is that, or they still push you towards like Azure ready?
They don't, but I'm glad you asked that question because, sorry, this is going to be 2 minutes. You can actually, I'm going to run this and I'm not going to do anything because obviously I can't, but maybe I can, I don't know. Cool, so within these endpoints, obviously some of them are protected, some of them aren't. What you can do is you can click on authorize and you can put the token in there, and then as far as the Swagger front end is concerned, you are authorized. And the way that you kind of specify that is in here. This is specific to Swagger, by the way, not .NET as a whole. So basically, for the Swagger endpoint, you specify that you're using this authorization scheme, and then it provides that for you. You can change this so that depending on what kind of scheme you're using, you can adapt it. If you want to use cookie authentication instead of JWT, for example, so then you can work with the interface to test the API and pass in the tokens or the identity implementation that you needed to. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I guess I was mainly, because there used to be like an identity server that Microsoft used to recommend, which if you wanted to do auth,
yeah,
like you could use that.
It's just sort of a change.
Yeah,
It's not free anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do have identity as a service with Azure AD and Azure AD B2C.
AD B2C.
Yeah, but depending on what you want to do, I'd say that that's more for enterprise level sort of applications. If you had the environment set up where you were talking to loads of disparate systems and you wanted a central space, you could even offload it to Okta or something like that, like a third-party identity provider. But in terms of Microsoft, it's kind of all or nothing. You either have bare bones freedom to do everything you want to do, or you have to do it their way on the cloud, and it's a pain, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the setup isn't really that bad, but again, it's you have to carry a lot in your application to do a very simple thing, and if bandwidth or performance is a high priority, which it should be, and the scope of your application isn't really that big, then it's overkill.
But for this identity, you can use sign-ins like Google.
Yeah, you can use third-party sign-ins. You can with this as well, and I could show that at a later demo with a different machine. So yeah, that'll be something that I'll be showing later on. But yeah, it's again, but that's actually quite straightforward. Most of the work is done on the third-party provider's platform to try and set everything up. So like Google Auth, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest of that stuff. You can do all that as well. Cool. No worries. One more question quickly.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, this only supports user tokens, but you need a client token, service-to-service communications.
Well, you could either, personally, if it was service-to-service, I would probably use API keys or something like that, because that is just kind of like a one-to-one. It doesn't need to, it's probably just not a GUID, but something that is identifiable by just the two, by the API and the client. Or you could then go a bit higher and go to the have a identity provider where you can have an infrastructure where you would say this application only talks to these endpoints. Again, Azure provides something like that, Azure AD. So not Azure AD, Azure B2C. Yeah. But yeah, again, that's kind of like a whole identity kind of talk, which I could do at a different time. Yeah, sorry.
Cheers, Carl. Thanks
Cheers.
very much. Thank you very much.